Start off, unless you don't know it, I'm 90 years old, born May the 17th, 1924. I grew up in East Texas and graduated from Omaha High School in 1942. Enlisted in the Army in 1942 in October. Was assigned to Keesler Air Force Base for recruit for a basic training. It is said here in a moment. Okay. After my training there, which was probably about 4 or 5 weeks, I'm not exactly sure now. Wasn't too long because they needed gunners bad over in England. I got on a troop train in Fort Myers, Florida, and on the way to Salt Lake City, Utah, by way of Chicago, Illinois. And of course, you know that a trip like that was going to take a long time on a train, so it did. It took about 8 or 10 days total, I think. Yeah. Well, we laid over in Chicago in the marshaling yards there. They call them, I guess, for several days, and finally we got to Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah, where we did a little training then with the mock-ups of the turret that we were going to use. And I volunteered, or I guess I was more or less selected, to be the ball turret gunner. That's the little ball turret underneath the B-17s that I was assigned to. And spent some time there. And in October then of 1943, we left there and went to Brooklyn, New York, got on the Queen Mary, and took it to Scotland. Yeah. And we were just all by ourselves out there in the ocean. You know, there wasn't any U-boats could run as fast as the Queen Mary did. So we outrun everything. No problem at all. However, we were reported sunk twice or 3 times. I'm not sure. You know, but we made it. No problem. The only thing is, there were so many people on that thing, probably 18 or 19,000, somewhere like that, because they had every nook and cranny filled up on that ship. Because they were trying to get the people over, you know, and get us into combat. So we had a little bit of training after we got into England before we started flying. And before we flew as a complete crew that had trained together, they took us, each one of us, and put us with a different crew, an experienced crew. And I flew 3 missions, I think it was, with a crew like that. About my family? Okay, well, I have 2 sons, I beg your pardon. I have 3 sons and 2 daughters. 2 of my own, and 1 son and daughter of my own, and 2 sons and a daughter then with my other wife, with my second wife. And of course they're adopted children, not adopted, but they're mine anyhow. I have to raise them. I'll put it that way. And we're still a pretty close knit family. The whole works. American Legion. That's one of the largest and oldest veterans organization that there is. Well, we're basically to help all veterans cope with any of their wartime experiences or what the heck ever, you know, with guys with PTSD and stuff like that. We try to help them maintain benefits that they have earned through their service to the United States government, and try to help them in any way we can, socially and financially, as far as that goes. The mission. The mission, you mean the one that I got shot down on? Okay. Well, we were to bomb aircraft factories. This particular day, the 8th Air Force, which I was a member of, consisted of a whole bunch of bomb groups over in England, and we were going to go in there and try to knock out all the aircraft factories that we could. You know, their capability of manufacturing more aircraft. And we got to the target. well, just before we got to the target, we run into a bunch of anti-aircraft fire. We got hit by anti-aircraft fire, and it knocked one of the engines out and fixed where Bombay doors. We wasn't able to get them open at the time, but finally our flight engineer was able to crank them down by hand, and we got the doors open. We made our bomb run, dropped our bombs, and shortly after we got off the target, we got hit by fighters, and with the Bombay doors open, we couldn't get them closed again, and the Bombay doors open and that one engine out on the thing, we couldn't keep up with our formation, with the other aircraft that was in our formation. So we fell behind. Well, when we did, these fighter aircraft attacked us, and they made about 3 passes at us, and that was it. They just knocked us completely out of the sky. So, but we were fortunate in the fact that we all got out of the aircraft, made it safely to the ground, but were ultimately all captured and spent time in prison camps. The radio operator and myself went to one POW camp. Then the rest of the enlisted men went to a different one down in East Prussia, in the Stalag Luft 17, or Stalag 17, which was down in southern Germany and Austria or somewhere down in there. But anyhow, and the radio operator and I went up into East Prussia, a little country called Lithuania. And we were there for about, we got there in February of 43, and we left in about July the 10th or somewhere along in there, 11th, and went down to northern Poland to a different camp because the Russians were getting so close there. They moved us out. They didn't want to, they didn't want the Russians to take us over. So they moved us down to this other camp. And that was July, like I said, of 43. Well, in February of 44, on the 6th day of February 1944, 1945, I'm sorry, they moved us out from there. And I unfortunately had to walk, because they didn't have transportation to put us all on ships, or not ship, but trains or trucks or anything like that. So they just put us in formation. We started walking, and walked about almost 600 miles, walking, zigzagging between the American lines and the Russian lines, and heading south all the time. And we were out on the road from the 6th day of April to the 26th day I beg your pardon, from 6th day of February to the 26th day of April. And we slept in barns, we slept in bombed out factories, we slept out in the open, and we scrounged for everything we could eat, eating grain and stuff like that. The Germans was giving us a small ration of bread each day, and we like to starve to death, and like to froze to death, because that was one of the coldest winters they'd had in Europe in a long time. But yeah, fortunately, I made it, and got back to the USA in July, I believe it was, of 1945. Man, you hit me with a good one there. Man, I don't know. Gosh, I don't know, really. I've had, like I say, I've had a lot of happy times, and I've had a lot of sad times, but I think the happier times really have outweighed the sad, because I've had good health, had a great family. I don't know, I guess it just, being around my family, I don't know, really. Like I say, it's been a wonderful life.